Chronic diseases such as autoimmune encephalitis can affect health-related quality of life of not only the patients, but also their families and caregivers. Today, we are going to hear the story of one of these caregivers. We are talking to Kacia Hudson, whose daughter Haley has a form of autoimmune encephalitis called Hashimoto's encephalopathy. Good afternoon, Kacia. Thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
I am very excited if this helps anybody else.
I understand. I feel the same way when I do these interviews. If it helps even one person,
yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, everything that we experience, all of everybody else on the group, and even people that aren't even a part of the amazing group yet. I mean, everything that everybody goes through, my heart, I'm constantly thinking about everybody, even when we're going through stuff, because it is so horrific, the lack of care that is still out there, even though it's not as rare to hear about anymore. But there's still doctors who don't want to help or deal with the illness or do the treatments. And so it's just mind-boggling to me. It's so frustrating and sad.
Now, your daughter was, 13 when she was diagnosed?
Yes.
So how is she doing now? And what's her age now? I should ask first.
She's almost 23. She'll be 23 in March. We are kind of at, I think we're at like a stagnant place right now. She just recently got out of the hospital after a month and a half of being in psychosis because nobody wanted to listen to myself, her case, her history, anything. I even had like one of the Hashimoto's Encephalopathy books with me that was published. All the things. I had everything with me, and people still didn't want to listen and do for any treatments that I was asking.
Oh my gosh.
A good hospital. And so it was just me constantly going, no, that's not right. You guys are being unsafe, all the things, and having some people in the hospital actually helping to advocate. And then I have other nurse friends that know laws. And so I had to sit there, be her case manager every day. I had to know the laws, for them to backtrack and do something. So they finally, it took this one doctor listening. He was so great, and I'm so grateful. And he finally, at least when Haley's in psychosis, Zyprexa works really well for her to get out of this psychosis. So he bumped up the Zyprexa, and finally, after a week and a half, got her out of the psychosis. She would have been out of psychosis long before that if somebody would have listened.
How frustrating. I hear this so often. People do not realize how often this happens to people with autoimmune encephalitis.
Yeah. And they wanted to keep everybody. The neurologist wrote off on her case. The endocrinologist wrote off on her case. There was there's nothing we could do for her. They kept saying that it was a mental illness. And I was like, no, it's not. Read her case history, all these things. And they still wanted to do what they wanted to do. And I had to fight for her, for them not to transfer her to a psychiatric unit, which would have been way worse. And so right now we're just at that stagnant level where you just get out of psychosis. You still need treatments that now we're trying to find the right specialists and doctors all over again to give her those treatments.
Did you have an issue with when she had her adolescent doctor, right, or pediatrician that diagnosed her, and then she went into adult care? Was that a big issue to find an adult neuro that could understand what she had and treat her?
Yes, absolutely. So that is part of this huge problem. So the people she was with from the age 13 to 22, so this last year, they dropped her as a patient gave her back to her primary care. And for 6 months straight, when she was still with the other specialist, I kept asking, can you please give me some adult specialists? Because it's like a needle in a haystack. So I kept asking, can you please give us referrals to some other people? They're like, well, we're not really sure who to go to. I said, well, neither am I, but you guys are specialists and they want to hear it come from a doctor or another specialist, and they never gave us anybody. So then Haley kept declining and getting worse, to the point where it got her into such a bad state. She didn't know what she was doing. She ended up leaving while I was at work. So she was lost to the street.
Oh my God.
I finally tracked her down with GPS, but again, she wasn't in her right mind. So then she was just like, fighting and arguing, and she's an adult, and we didn't have all the legal papers in place yet. So it was really, really difficult. And then I was able to get her into a local hospital here, but they didn't listen either. They sent her out on the street back to herself.
Oh God.
Got her back into the hospital, and then they transferred her to this little psych facility here for a minute. They were not helpful. They released her to herself back on the street. And I lost her to so we live in the Santa Cruz Mountains. They gave her a cab ride to San Jose. So then she's lost in San Jose. I'm trying to find her for months. She has all these health issues going on that are triggering her brain. And it's not a mental health issue. It is her brain being inflamed and all the things, and even stressors can be triggers. And so obviously being on the street is going to stress out anybody, so she took off. I put out a missing persons report, had some leads, and then we were finally able to find her. But again, she still wasn't in her right mind and ready to, come with. And she wasn't even recognizing me as her mom, or anything. And we're close. And so finally she found her way to this one place that's for young adults and teens. And they really kept her safe. And I'm so grateful. And they saw my missing persons report through the police over there. And so they called me, and we hatched a plan for me to go get her from them and have an ambulance on standby. So I'm so grateful. I cannot thank them enough for what they did. And I was able to get her to the hospital. But once at the hospital, that's where it got tricky all over again, because yes, some people listened. Yes, some people did not. And so I just had to constantly be on it for a month and a half. And even when
I can't believe what you must have went through.
Yeah.
And what she went through.
Yeah.
That's
like, I can't
imagine
what she, it was horrific, horrific.
Yeah.
I'm slowly finding stuff out. But her not even being able to, why is my brain doing this? I didn't even mean to do that. And I was like, I know that. It's unfortunately a big part of this disease that so many people, I don't know, if I was a doctor, right, I would want to know everything I humanly possibly could know that would trigger other things. I would want to know about this rare disease and educate myself. So if somebody came through my doors, I could help them. And if I couldn't help them, I would know somebody else that could help them, and send them to another doctor. I don't understand the doctors that don't give you referrals to other doctors at all. And so here I am again, trying to research, trying to find these people. And finally, this one case manager actually put in a referral for me.
Thank God.
Hopeful lead, and I'm hoping it works out, because my only choice at this point is the Mayo Clinic, because I can't find really anybody else. And if this one person, if this one doctor specialist doesn't work out, that's what I'm going to have to do, because one of the most renowned hospitals in the area refused to take my daughter's case anymore.
I see. I just don't understand that. I don't understand how they can do that to a patient. I just don't.
You take an oath to do no harm.
Exactly.
To protect these people, to get them the proper care. And it's okay if you don't know, but please help find somebody in the world. This world is huge, full of amazing, innovative, creative doctors who think out of the box and really have helped a lot of people. So it's like, okay, find me one of them. If you don't know, that's totally okay. Not everybody's going to know, but please find me somebody. And we get with no one.
I, like I was saying, I know several people that have gone through what you're talking about. And some of these young people haven't ever come around, have never gotten back to halfway normal after going through something like this. And
that's right now.
Yeah. And because the damage is done.
Yeah.
I cannot, it's just too much to even understand, in my thinking. It's just, how long did it take her to get originally diagnosed? Was it a long period or?
Almost a year. She almost died so many times, and I fought like hell to get somebody to listen, whichever way I could. And it was a pediatric neurologist who actually, I asked for specific testing because I read Brain on Fire, and I asked for those tests, and he did them for me. He's like, if that's all you need, okay. And as soon as the results came back, he was like, you need to go get her back to that ER right now. And of course, I didn't do just the local hospital. I went over the hill from where we live to a well-known hospital. And I actually had to threaten them. Not totally proud of that moment, but when you're a mom whose kid is about to die,
I get it.
And I was like, the neurologist said to get her here ASAP. This is, the test that were ran, and I need you to please do this, this, and this. And they're like, well, that requires a spinal. I'm like, do it, because my kid's going to die. And if she dies, because no one wants to listen right now, I'm going to own this place. And again, not my finest moment, but that saved my daughter, because then they were like, oh my gosh, she has to be admitted. And I was like, yeah, I know. Thank you. And,
I know a few different young people that have died because the hospitals would not simply give them the high dose steroids, and they didn't make it. And it's something so simple as that.
Yeah.
And it's just sad. The whole thing is so sad. It just, how many doctors did you end up going to approximately before she got diagnosed? I can only imagine.
A lot, because what else was I going to do?
You go from one to another trying to get that diagnosis.
Yeah. And I went to the same place actually a couple times. And they there was I will never forget, there was an attending doctor that literally basically laughed at me because I was like, I swear, I think it's this, because at the same time, Haley actually got PANS at the same time that she got the Hashimoto's encephalopathy. And he literally laughed at me in the ER, and he was like, do you know how rare that is? I'm all, it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Are you kidding me? And he did nothing. And we went home, and then the neurologist helped me. And then I went back, and I'm all, you need to do this like now.
Yeah, I remember even for myself, and I was, in my 50s when I was diagnosed, and I remember my primary saying to me, I doubt if you have that because it's so rare. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but the neurologist is telling me that I do have it. And it took a year to be
Yep.
diagnosed. But that fact that, you're a zebra and you're not a horse really, really plays into the whole diagnosis aspect of the
I know.
rare diseases.
Here's the thing though, this is what like frustrates me. Yes, it's still rare, but it's not as rare anymore. There's so many of you out
I
there that
agree.
have this disease. So
I
how is it
agree.
still that rare that people and medical journals are all online? I'm so done with people saying not to research to that, because all of you are out saving your own lives or each other, or the caretakers are, and they're real medical journals on there, and so I'm so tired of everybody just getting tossed around like it's not out there. Yes, it is.
Don't you feel that one of the issues right now is, like you said, more people are getting diagnosed, and so it's not quite as rare as I was diagnosed 10 years ago, and at that point they had said 200 patients in the
Yeah,
world. Well, that wasn't accurate, but now it's thousands and thousands. But
exactly.
you know, I still feel the number one problem is that there's nobody researching it. There might be somebody here or there, but they're not putting that effort into researching what HE is, what causes it. Treatments, they've got treatments pretty well down pat, but it's like the low man on the totem pole to research for autoimmune encephalitis. It's
Yeah.
like the last one.
And it shouldn't be
No,
at all. It
I
is so
agree.
complexities of it. I understand. And I know a lot of people don't want to deal with complexities, but I'm sorry, you're a doctor. I'm fascinated by it, honestly. And how many people are out there untreated, and being put in a box that it's mental illness, and it's
Oh,
not. And that's not okay. And I don't like, I feel for everybody that is in the behavioral health system, because a lot of those mental illnesses all stem from inflammation in the first place. So again, it goes back to treating the root cause. Let's have a policy and a protocol for treatment when this happens. What do we do? I mean, it's just like anything else. So again, like, I'm so grateful for the doctors that step up to the plate, but I'm frustrated with the rest who don't want to budge or
I
don't
agree.
want to help you find somebody who can manage and deal with the disease.
I agree. So when your daughter first started getting sick, what symptoms did she start with? I mean, with pandas or pans, that had to be a little bit more complicated, but with the
They kind
HE,
of other though at the same time, a little bit. But she started like having bad headaches. She said her brain felt like it was on fire. So that was a big one, was the brain feeling like it was on fire. And then her eyes started kind of like blinking. She started having these hand movements. Her body started getting super restless. She couldn't sleep, ringing in the ear, loss of appetite, started having bad OCD to where just it was bad, which caused, and she has super bad anxiety. She has PTSD now from everything that she has dealt with and gone through, dealing with this disease and being treated actually pretty bad by some situations and doctors. She does not trust going to a doctor without me ever.
I understand that she needs an advocate.
Yeah, even for getting a blood draw, she's like, you hold my hand, you're staying right here. I'm like, absolutely,
Aw.
and because of how badly people have treated her and not listened and not validated. It's wrong to not listen to a patient. They're not saying it for no reason, and then to just get tossed away without any help. That is devastating. That is putting trauma onto a patient.
Absolutely right. 100% right on that. I mean, does she live on her own now? She's lives with you?
There's no way she can live on her own right now at all.
We have I just got done doing another interview of a 23-year-old, actually 24-year-old, and same thing. She's living with her parents. And one of the frustrations is the fact that she is, because she would like to live on her own, but she can't.
Yeah.
With the symptoms and
stage that we're at right now too, is the struggle between wanting to be independent, but your body at this very moment is not allowing you to. So
exactly.
Again, it's finding all of the right doctors, because it takes a whole group, right? Like the neurologist, it takes a psychiatrist that is well diverse in the neuro part of psychiatry. Cannot just be any psychiatrist, right? That's
exactly.
a needle that too. It's the needle in a haystack finding a neurologist that knows how to deal with this stuff. It takes a needle in a haystack to find an endocrinologist who doesn't just say that, they know how to deal with it. Well, no, because we just went through one and I'm like, we need to get a new one.
Or they want to blame it on Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And I've had that told to me too before.
And it's not the same.
No.
And like, well, your lab work's fine. Well, if you know this disease, you can have normal lab work, and stress is a trigger. Environmentals are triggers. Like there's so many other things that could trigger it, and you can still have normal lab work. I'm like, it's right here. Do you want to read?
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I haven't been in your situation, but I've heard enough of the situation that I understand the frustration. It has to be just awful. I can't imagine having a child sick with this disease. I just can't.
I have anxiety, PTSD from it. Grief.
That was my next question to ask you. Yeah. So you're answering me great. I was going to ask how it affects you personally with your health and everything else.
You are bleeding for your child, and you are bleeding for yourself, and everybody around you is bleeding for your child and themselves, because when you live in a household and you have parents and siblings and all the things, like my youngest daughter remembers when her sister wasn't sick, but she was so little, and then most of her life her sister's been sick, and it's been really hard.
And it's hard to spread your time out. I mean, it's hard for a mom to feel like they're giving everybody enough attention and not just the person that's ill.
Yeah. I've burnt myself out so many times handling it all, because I have 3 kids. And I've burnt myself out numerous times. And at the time I was like, what else am I supposed to do?
You don't have a choice.
You don't. You have no choice, because you're saving your one child and you're still making sure the others are as normal as humanly possible. And it's still hard. And then if you end up with a spouse that wants to think they know, but they don't, and they're making matters worse, not better, because they still don't get it, that's very difficult. And then you're really, really left with handling on your own and feeling low. And I'm just so grateful for your group, because your group saved me.
Aw, that's so nice to hear.
It honestly did. Like, if it wasn't for all of you, I would have crumbled even more.
Oh my
And it
gosh.
understand and put a better perspective on what my child was going through, because sometimes it was so hard for her to like tell me, you know, because she didn't always have the words for it. And so hearing everybody else at every age, young and old, like and in the middle, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so real, you know? And so I was able to go to my kid and go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that that's how you're feeling. I'm sorry that we thought this other thing, you know, like it helps and it saves. And I'm really grateful for everybody that's in the group and for everybody starting the group. I think it's so important, especially because for caregivers and all of you going through it, it can feel so lonely. You know, especially when you have all these other doctors like not believing truly what is going on with you in the first place. And that, hey, I couldn't get out of bed today. Hey, a shower hurt to take. You know, all the things that people take for granted every day. And those things like everybody's struggling through. And the fact that you did it that one day, yay for you, you know? And so it helped me be a better parent and understand my kid more.
I'm so touched, and I am so grateful that you feel that you've gotten help, because that's what it's all about. I mean, that was the main reason of forming these groups and writing the book Patient Stories, and so that people could actually see themselves or understand, or have somebody to understand them, because it's hard to talk about it to people not going through it, because they really don't understand unless they have walked a mile in your shoes. There's no way that they get it. None. How is the insurance part of this going? I mean, I know that's a job in itself, usually full time, trying to get the insurances to work with you.
I know that part hasn't been so bad, to be honest, just because the doctors that we had were really, really good about wording everything correctly so that it would get approved.
Wonderful.
So we haven't had really a problem with that. It's just been a problem with doctors saying yes to treatments and wanting and willing to do treatments. It gets really hard.
What treatments is your daughter getting right now? What is she receiving? Are you kidding?
No, they sent her out of the hospital with only Zyprexa, no care plan, no like referral to anybody except for the one referral that the case manager finally did for me that I pulled up. And that was it. And I'm like, she's going to get sick all over again because nobody is helping to facilitate proper treatment protocol. So that's why I'm praying to God that this doctor, who is supposed to be amazing and understand these diseases, I'm praying that he will take her case.
Oh, I will help you pray, because
in the car and we're driving to the Mayo Clinic.
I don't know too many HE patients that haven't had some sort of prolonged treatment plan, whether it be IVIG or Cellcept or methotrexate or one of the hard-hitting drugs or treatments that are out there.
She's tried so many, and I think what fell short was not having the conjunction. So one thing only is not going to work, right? You need an immunosuppressant. You need, sometimes steroids when it's in a really bad flare, along with IVIG or plasmapheresis. Plasmapheresis is one of the ones we have not tried yet. IVIG we tried, but after like so many tries, they stopped doing it because they felt like it wasn't sustaining her. But I'm like, people do this lifelong. So I was like, why are we stopping? So I never understood why they did that. And so I think they were trying, but they weren't trying things in conjunction. And I think that's where it failed her, because they try things in conjunction together to have it work. And she's tried suppressants, and a lot of them didn't work for her either, because she get effects.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I have found for myself, talking about myself, is that the only thing that works for me is a conjunction of Imurin, which is an immune suppressant, and IVIG. Just one does not work. It has to be together as a treatment for me. And it's been 10 years of trying this, so I think I got it pretty well down pat. And still will have relapses where I have to get the high dose prednisones, but few and far between. So, I mean, and everybody's different. And that's the other thing that doctors don't understand. Everybody's different. So it's a trial and error treatment plan.
Yeah.
So I feel really bad that she's not getting anything right now. I mean, not even prednisone or anything, huh?
No, they gave her high dose steroids. That's one thing they did listen to, and gave her 3 days worth of 1 milligram IV steroid 3 days in a row. So they did do that, but that wasn't
standard. Yeah. But I mean,
and she more treatments in conjunction with each other. I kept asking for IVIG or plasmapheresis, and they told me they didn't do that there. And I said, well, give me somebody who will. Because if you want to read the book I'm holding in my hand, or if you want to go online and see what the protocol treatments are for this disease, you will see it. And nobody wanted to do anything.
That's just a crime. You don't want to see her going back into that state that she was.
I was like, I'm trying to prevent this from my kid dying, or this happening again to where she's lost again. Like, not at all. This is not okay. And they're like, well, we don't want that for her either. And I'm all, then find me somebody. Like, I literally had to call the Mayo Clinic 3 times myself. They were amazing. They called me back like literally the next day. I had to call all kinds of hospitals myself because nobody was calling. And then everybody wanted to hear from the doctors since she was in the hospital. So I'm handing over phone numbers and people to call and all the things, and nothing, except for finally the one case manager gave me the referral to the one guy I'm hoping will take her case. But other than that, there was like nothing. They kept trying to send her to a psych facility. And then the other hospital that is most familiar with her case history denied taking her. They did not want to take her case.
That's just amazing to me in a bad sense, not a good sense.
He wanted best world-renowned hospitals.
I've heard this before. That's what makes me sick. It's not a one-time episode that I've heard, No. I just, I pray for you and for her and your family, because that's just.
Thank you. I pray for everybody, honestly, all the time, because it's not just us going through it. It is all of you. All of you. I need with this.
What would you suggest to parents that they need to do as far as, I'm going to go back a couple steps. When you're talking about, because I've got HE too, so I skip around, but
it's okay.
Okay. So when you're talking about, having her go from pediatric to adult care, what what do you, and then in conjunction with that, also, what kind of paperwork do parents need to have set up so that if their child is put into a psych hospital, they've
Yeah.
got some control over
Yes.
this adult patient?
I
What
learned
do
a
you
lot
suggest?
before, because it would have prevented a lot of what just happened. So now that I know, I suggest, so there's there's a healthcare directive that everybody actually should print out and sign. You can get it online. Everybody should have an advanced healthcare directive, and you can get it notarized or not, but it's a legal document. The next thing is get on top of it a power of attorney. Hopefully their kid can, go into remission. Mine has not yet. So if the case is like mine, to where they're a young adult, this stuff is still happening, all those things, sometimes you might want to look into conserving the person. If the damage is so done that they're not going to be able to take care of themselves, then obviously getting conservatorship going.
And that's hard, isn't it? Isn't
It is
that a
hard.
difficult step?
Because we're in that process too, and understanding the different types of conservatorship. I finally, now it took quite a few people to like really explain it to me for me to understand, because it can get very tricky. And it's, with this stuff, it's so complex that the courts are not built for this kind of complexity, because it's pretty standard in a court system for how things are, what their protocols are, right? But this is so complex that they're just like not sure exactly what the right thing to do is. And so that makes it all more trickier too. And it's harder when they're an adult. So get it done before they're 18, and I did it, and here we are. But I'm learning a lot. I also suggest really understanding hospital policies, understanding legalities. No, not just like your patient rights, all those things, but actually knowing, hey, you're out of compliance right now. That's not okay. I just learned about JCO. I didn't know they existed. And
I don't know what that is.
So JCO is a company that actually goes out and investigates the medical places that are not holding to proper protocols or safety measures or anything, because they were trying to discharge my daughter still in psychosis. And it took one of my friends who's an RN, she was like, absolutely not. That's against policy. That's unsafe. That is, you're worried about the safety of your person. And so I just very politely, I was just like, here's her case history. Here's all the things. This is what you guys are trying to do. That's not safe. So I'm ready to send my complaint to JCO because you're trying to do an unsafe discharge. I'm worried about my person being safe and healthy, and this is not it. And once you mention JCO, they backtrack because nobody wants to be investigated.
Oh,
so
that's interesting.
I just learned about this. And it's seriously, the other part is, and this was told to me by an attorney, you keep a legal pad with you at all times, and you write down the date, the time, who you talked to, what the conversation was, all the things, because as long as it's on a legal pad, if anything happens, it is legal. So you can bring that to the plate.
That's interesting.
So I have legal pads worth of all kinds of information right now. And basically I just keep writing on it when there's appointments and doctors, and I'm just keeping my own log, you know?
And that's a very smart thing to do. And it's also something that's smart to do for a person that is trying to get a diagnosis of an autoimmune encephalitis, to write down every symptom, every thought that they have, because being a person that is affected by a brain disease, you can't hold that all in there. You have to write it down and have some kind of a journal to help you through it.
Have an advocate at all times, no matter how bad your illness is. It doesn't matter if it's at the beginning stage of it, the middle, the really, really bad, to where you're like my daughter, she was in psychosis, because I don't know why people don't listen, but they don't.
No.
And then when you finally get the ones that do, it's great, but it's sometimes still not enough. But you need that person being the case manager, being the attorney, being, all the things, keeping you safe. And then also I brought the book with me that you guys published. And I also I was popping things up on my phone, and showing the social workers, so showing the behavioralists, showing everybody. I'm like, look here, not making any of this up. This is the protocols. This is, the things you do. This is, here's the list of meds, and things that need to work in conjunction with each other. And you have to be the squeaky wheel. I hate to say that, but you have to. And you have to just keep going, and you have to keep repeating yourself. And if one person's not doing it, you find somebody who does, and then never be afraid to ask, hey, who's the manager on this floor? Hey, who's the CEO of the hospital? I want to talk to them right now. I don't feel safe that this is happening, all the things. So it's just, don't be afraid to push in a respectful, healthy way, but push. And you say, this is not right. I am concerned. This is unsafe. This feels unsafe. I would like to talk to so-and-so. Just make people accountable. Accountability.
Accountability. That's just such an excellent suggestion, because a lot of times the caregivers that get thrown into this situation may not ever have had to advocate that strongly for anybody before. And it's really sometimes very hard to do. But when it's a loved one and it's, for them, it becomes easier. But I mean, I personally wouldn't have thought of asking for the CEO so that's great suggestions that you're giving people. I feel it's
a boss.
Yeah.
And go up fine. And it does not matter. You have every single right to, as a patient, as a caregiver, looking out for somebody. And then the other helpful thing is they always have like meetings, right? When they have a big case or whatever, all the doctors have this meeting. You're allowed to go. If your patient cannot go, you're allowed to go. This hospital wanted to tell me that they rarely let anybody at the meeting. And I said, you're full of it, because I've been in front of panels of doctors at lots of hospitals many times talking about this disease, because a lot of them did not know. So I brought it to the table and I talked about it, and I'm in this huge room with all these doctors. And I looked at these people and I was like, you were full of it. Yes, I am allowed. I have a right to be there.
Well, that's news to me too. Honestly, I never knew that.
Yeah, no, if they're having a case meeting, you're allowed to attend. And if you can't attend, you can send your advocate to attend.
That's such great advice.
And who knows your case better than yourself or your advocate? So
absolutely.
You put in that meeting, because they want to think that they know, and most of the time they don't. And they're sitting there trying to make all the decisions. And then they're talking to the transfer centers and this, that, and the next thing. And somebody called me and was like, oh, so there's a transfer in for psych. I'm all, the heck you are. I'm all, no, you're not. Absolutely not. That is not the plan. Take it off right now.
And so then you're back to square one. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Honestly, you've given people so much information from what you've gone through.
If that is what I can do, and one of the reasons why for some reason we're going through this, then amen, I'm fine with that, because I'm able to help anybody, whether you're the patient or the caretaker. I just want to be able to help anybody and everybody that I can, because it's not okay how all of you get treated. It's not okay to not get the medical care that you deserve. It's inhumane and it's criminal, and it's got to stop.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. You know, that's our goal, is to try to change things, you know, and it's a long process. It's a long process, but it takes people like you that are passionate and knowledgeable and willing to speak out, because not everybody is capable or willing to do that. You know,
or anything, I am beyond ready to help make noise. I really am.
We will call on you.
It really has to stop.
I agree. And like I said, my prayers are with you guys, all of you. And, you know, it's just a shame. And your daughter should not have to be going through this, and you should not have to be going through this, or your family.
No, none of you should, you know, trying to scramble and find doctors. I mean, I hear all of you all the time how hard it is, and I feel it because we're going through it too. And it's not okay. We should not be able to go without medical care. I will never forget the moment my daughter, she was like, I wish I had cancer instead.
Oh my God. I've heard that from people. She
was like, at least they listen. At least there's a protocol. At least they would be doing something and trying to help me.
I honestly, I
got that.
Tell you. Yeah, me too. Me too. And doctors are well aware of that C word, and it's not strange to them, you know, where they hear something like this and they have no way of knowing. They just don't even know where to start, you know, and that should not be that way, you know. And
your job is to research, or if you're in a research hospital or facility, whatever, that's their job. You research. I have armed myself with so much knowledge, because what else was I going to do? I have read every mental illness that can be attached to an autoimmune disease. I have read so many freaking books and journals, medical journals, on all these things that, you know, autoimmune diseases that cause mental health issues, that cause behavioral changes, that cause this, that, and the next thing, because I can sit there and have all these conversations with doctors wholeheartedly with so much confidence now. And I'm like, and what are you going to do? Here's the protocols. Here's the medicines. Here's this, here's that, you know, and still I get met with, and it's no disrespect, but a lot of doctors have egos. And if they don't know, they will shut you down. But I'm like, I'm fine with you not knowing. That's perfectly fine. What I'm not okay with is you being so egotistical that you're not going to help in the fact that find somebody who may know, please. That's all I'm asking. Help me find them.
I agree. It's that doctor that's willing to go, when you go to them and they're not familiar with it, they will research it and they will help you, because they're learning right along with you.
Yeah.
You know, and they can
find somebody who's willing to do it, you know.
Well, I guess to finish this interview, I'm going to ask you if you have one thing that you would like to say to everybody from all your experience and everything that you've gone through, words of wisdom.
Don't give up. And there's power in numbers and power in everybody in this group, and make noise together, because that's the only way we are going to change anything, is doing it together. And I am ready, willing to help. I just, whatever it takes to change what is going on, whatever it takes.
I have to, I agree with you. And I just want to say how grateful I am that you sat down. I know it was a hectic day for you, and I really appreciate you taking the time. Well, I just, and me, if I would have put down the right time zone, we would have been fine.
No, you know what? Happy accidents. It's okay.
Yeah. But again, HESA really thanks you. I especially thank you. And if there's anything ever we can do especially to help, just ask.
I'm just trying to find doctors and specialists in our area that can help.
Where are you again? Where are you?
So we're in the mountains. We're in Felton, California.
Okay. You're in California. Oh, then that's not a real easy. I'm gonna write it down. And then I'm gonna do some research for you too.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's not always an easy area. Are you willing to fly or drive, or
I'm at this point have nothing to lose at this point. I feel like I've been on survival mode with my butt on fire trying to save my kid for this long. I'm willing to go anywhere at this point anymore, if it means my kid gets her life back. Because hearing the stuff that she continuously goes through and hearing my kid cry, even at 23, like, it's not okay.
It's not okay.
It's not for people to suffer.
It's
and the
not
agony
okay.
of just, too many things going on at one time triggers her. Trying to take a shower is hard. Like, and she struggles because she's like, when I feel well, I could do these things. And I feel for her, the struggle in her wanting to just be able to do that.
I understand that.
Somebody that can help so that she can have that back.
And at that age, they want to be out with their friends. They want to be doing things.
She lost all of her friends because when she got sick when she was 13, all these things that are happening to you, like, they tried, the kids really did try. They don't understand. And so it's hard, and their lives are going and they're moving and they're doing this, that, and the next thing. So she lost everybody. And all she had was family. And I'm sorry, I love our family, but being with family all the time gets boring. It just does. Like, you need people your age to be around and understand. And, she has another friend that has really hard autoimmune diseases as well, and has gone through numerous amounts of things. The only difference is she has people still that help and bless her too. But it's the one person that, they can talk to sometimes about the stuff they're going through. But again, still, because the Hashimoto's encephalopathy or any of the AE, any of the autoimmune that is attacking your brain, it's such on a different level that you really do need people going through it.
I agree.
Friends with, because that's the only way you're going to halfway survive, is just hearing each other out, being there for each other, like having a new friendship, family, community, and I'm so grateful to you. And again, everybody that's in this group and started the group and the books and everything, because I recommend the books. I recommend Caring. I recommend, hey, it's here. It is here. It's been here. If you're not going to listen to published things, what are you doing as a doctor?
Is she able to, or willing to talk to other people that have HE that's her age? Because I have some
wasn't
contacts for her.
She wasn't before, but I think now, I think she's more willing because she hears me talk about all of you. And I'm like, can you please be a part of this group? I
Or
would love
even private PM messages. I've got a
Yeah.
couple people that would be very willing to talk to her.
amazing. That would be amazing. She needs that. And I think she's finally ready for that. It took
Well,
a long time for her to like come to a place of acceptance. And I think yeah. And I think she's finally getting there, even after all these years. Like, I think she was fighting against it instead of accepting these things are happening. And that's the other thing. We are not the things that happen to us.
No.
You are you. Yeah. You are you living through, battling and surviving through this disease every day, and how brave and amazing you all are. You guys are heroes. I tell her all the time, you are my hero, because so much strength and bravery that it takes for all of you to wake up every single day. And you're always going to be dealing with this every single day. And you're still here, you're still showing up, and you're still trying.
Well, we do have a lot of heroes. I have to say, there's a lot of heroes.
Yeah.
You know, but what I'll do is I will private message you some names, and
Thank you so much.
they can connect if she chooses to.
Okay.
She can connect, and it might help her.
I
Go through some of this.
You all have helped me so much.
Well, it's a lonely disease, so
thank you enough. I cannot say thank you enough, or how truly grateful I am.
Well, we're truly grateful for you too. So, you
Thank
know,
you.
and I will see you in the groups. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.